All right, let's see how this microphone works. I got it many years ago, and at last it has a purpose. I'm going to be putting the camera in a little bit of a different place so that you can see what my hands are doing, since that's what's important. My chair is very low and I am small, so if I put it here, you can't really see. Hmm. See it? Yeah, you can't hold them. Okay, okay. All right. All right, can you see now? That should work much better. That that should work much better. I hope that's not too loud. I once read that you should hold the microphone about a fist's width away from your mouth while you are speaking, and I hope that works. But if not, trial and error. So we're going to start with a magic ring as usual. We're going to make 6 single crochets in it. The YouTuber who got me into sewing, Sarah Spaceman, she makes a lot of her own clothes. And that's something I kind of want to do one day once I have more practice, experience. I'm not sure I could crochet my own clothes. That would take a very long time, but it's fun to make toys. You know something I was thinking about today? I'm not sure if I said this yesterday, but there's this creature in the ocean called phytoplankton, a floating organism that does photosynthesis, and it's like the bedrock of the marine food chain, right? So I thought about making a joke about that, where a lot of times VTubers will call themselves like the bottom of the food chain. I was trying to think, well, then chat would be their food. And then I realized that would be the sunlight. And that just feels too flattering for chat, if you know what I mean. I kind of wish I had like paint in this exact color, which looks much nicer in person, so that I could paint with it, but I don't know if that exists. All right. Next, two in the next stitch, then one in the stitch after that. I should probably put on some background noise just so the assorted various noises of where I live aren't audible. See, okay, good. Am I the only one here who loves drawing mermaids? They're so fun. A little while ago, I started creating this character who I wanted to be like a goddess of love or connections between people. And I originally drew her as a mermaid, which was a leftover from an older idea. And in like Christianity, they have an association with like seduction, but that's not what I'm going for. So I could create a really cool heart shape with her fins, but I might just make her like a relatively normal human. There's another character I've been drawing who I want to be like the goddess of the ocean, and I might make her a mermaid, but I've been drawing her a lot lately, and a lot of things I associate with the ocean, like light blue or delicate flowing fabric, they don't really work for her personality. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance the two. Wonder if I should put the book up here, then I could see it better. Okay, that's much better. This looks very small, but that's because it's one end of a cylinder. What the pattern says to do is cut out the pieces for the face out of felt, but in my experience, gluing felt on yarn has never really worked. So what I'm probably gonna do is get out some yarn and just embroider them on. Speaking of mermaids, I don't know if there are a lot of real fish this color, but this one is really graceful and delicate, so it could be fun to use for a mermaid character one day. I think it would be really fun to do a drawing stream with you guys soon. And you just be seeing the drawing pretty much like how right now you're pretty much just seeing the crocheting. But I think that would be really fun. I could show you some of the ideas I've been thinking about. Even if it's just really rough, that's the fun of it. It's just hanging out and drawing ideas. All right. Once this round is over, we're going to have to start making a lot of tally marks because we're going to be doing a lot of rounds that are the same. And for that, I might need to get some paper real quick. This is pretty much the size that one end of the cylinder is going to be. So rounds 7 to 24 are going to be 36 single crochets, which means about 17 rounds. Oh, remember how yesterday I was saying, be careful of the iron. This is why. It's just a burn, nothing too bad, but I was being clumsy and slammed into it, so be careful. Speaking of Sarah Spaceman, she's been to conventions and seen other people wearing costumes that they created using her patterns. And at least in crocheting, I don't think I'm skilled enough to do that yet, but it would be really cool if something like that happened one day. Like if I went to a con and people were dressed up as characters I had designed, I think I would like cry. I think we're gonna have a stream or two of just assembling the Espeon once all of this is said and done, because it's gonna take a minute to sew it all together, but that's one of my favorite parts. One row down. I can't believe that Matara Khan and K9 Kuro, they only joined Vishojo in October. Feels like they've been there forever. If you've never had a sibling, that's pretty much what it feels like to obtain a new sibling. You think back to the time before they were there, and it's like, huh? They weren't there? It's really cool how in the Drock Show, which is another channel I've been watching recently, you can really see how the fans' effect made a difference. In this case, they were just trying to buy a fun thing, but they were trying to buy the One Piece box sets for Mama Drock, and now she has them because the fans were able to donate enough money. Me personally, I really want to become a VTuber, so that might be the first thing I like advertise for. Like, help me afford a VTuber model. I might commission Hanaku to do it. I love her art. I do also want to find out who did Michi Mochibis, though. It's really pretty. Now can you see it's starting to look more round? Recently, I've really been enjoying the song Dizzy Paranoia Girl by Cat, but I really like Kura Inu's cover too. Another thing we'll probably do during the assembly is add some craft wire to the tail because it's supposed to be posable. I didn't want to do that right away, but we might do that as we're like sewing on the face, adding all the finishing touches. It's crazy to think how much things have changed in just a few years. I remember when I first started watching Mousy, she was still using her season one gremlin model. Obviously, that's a relatively small thing, but it sort of makes me think like those changes, they didn't happen for no reason. People had to make them happen. I think people underestimate what they can do when they actually try at something. They're not used to like using their imagination like that. I'm curious about why that is. I used to always really wanna wear rings because I think they're pretty, and I still think they're pretty, but as you can see, I use my hands a lot, a lot, a lot. So if I start wearing them a lot, I think what I'll do is just put them on a necklace. See, starting to look like a cylinder. I really like the color scheme of Calliope Mori's model and her general like theme. Black, gold, pink, and red. It's so pretty and dramatic. I haven't thought of a reason to use it right this second, but I have it like stored in my brain. I wonder what kind of character I could use that for, because I already have an idea for a kind of like gothic noble lady character, and I was thinking of using more silver for her than gold. This is row 12, so we're halfway to 24. One of my favorite kinds of humor and general world building is, I guess you would call it absurdism, where strange things keep happening and the characters aren't really like overwhelmed by it. They're just like, huh, well, that might be happening, I guess. Like it's normal to them. Like if you saw a cat with a mermaid tail jumping out of the water, like we as normal humans would be like, ah, must be hallucinating. But in like the absurdist world, somebody would be like, oh, hey, Miss Kitty, or huh, would you look at that? A cat with a fish tail. Again, I don't love getting into the nitty-gritty of world building. It's just not super interesting to me. So I don't think I'll really worry about it. I think I'll just have fun. The story that I'm thinking of right now, I want to flesh out my main character more, but I feel like I need to do some research. Like, she's outside a lot. What do people who go outdoors a lot typically wear? Like right now I have her wearing boots, but should that be it? I'm not much of like an explorer or a hiker, so that's not my expertise. She's older than me. So what are some experiences that older people have had? Her brain works differently. How does that work? Right now her design is very simple, which I guess could function well like if because the idea I have is that she's like the relatively normal main character and the world is full of all these amazing things. So that could work to like bounce off of everyone else. But I'm thinking like, should I add more detail just to help express who she is? I gotta come up with names for more of my characters too. I should block out like an afternoon where I just look through names and figure out to name everybody or at least get started. Want to do that together, chat? The basic idea I have for the story right now, which also needs a title, I'm not awesome at titling, is that the goddess of love, um, she spends a lot of time helping other people with their relationships, right? But she doesn't spend as much time on hers. So she's trying to like go out and fix that. But I might also play it as her just kind of being lonely and not really realizing it. So she's going out trying to do her regular job, which is helping people with like their relationships. And she doesn't really understand why she feels sad or why her relationships might need work. And over time, that's something she realizes. The idea I have for my main character, who is named Sylvia, is that she's just been kind of doing her own thing for a while, enjoying things like all on her own, like her hobbies or her main interests. And all that stuff is great, but she's been doing it for a really long time and kind of drifted away from a lot of friends or family. And something she hasn't really noticed is like she's not as happy as she could be. Like meeting other people and talking to them in person makes her really happy. And that makes her feel more complete. And I think it could help if she sees it happening to the goddess of love. Like, oh, she feels happy when she meets other people. She feels way less lonely when she has like her friends around her. That could happen for me too. Right now, I'm thinking how the goddess of love's powers will work is if she doesn't take care of her own relationships or her own bonds with people, then her powers stop working or she gets weaker. So she's like, man, why am I so weak? And she asks for Sylvia's help to go around doing things. But as she keeps doing that and she keeps trying to just, assist people, counsel them, do her normal thing, she keeps getting worse and worse because she's not doing that for herself. So over time, she's going to have to realize, I need to do something for myself. Overall, the lesson would be basically you need other people in your life. Now it really looks like a cylinder. I didn't plan it, but the goddess of love did end up having a primarily pink color scheme, while Sylvia's is primarily green. I don't remember if I said that's my main character's name. So I might play that up like the red and green contrast, complementary colors. You get pink from red. Could give the goddess of love like fancier clothes. Sylvia's dressed more plainly. They don't have to be super different, but it could help them stand out from each other. Like if you see them on a poster. I haven't yet decided how these two would be traveling to meet all the people, but I think it could be fun just to have them walk or take like kind of slow transportation because then you get to travel. Like, I wouldn't do this in real life, but it's fun to read about. You get to take your detours, you get to meet new people, you get to experience everything slowly. I'm not sure if there'd need to be a story reason for that, but there might be times when I have to come up with one just, if I want to stretch it out and it makes sense for the story, because otherwise things would happen very, very quickly. And then you'd have less time to tell a story. This exact color, I wonder if I could save like a piece of it to use as a reference one day, because there's another character who I want to be wearing lace, and I might put it in a color like this. Very, very light purple. have a lot of this yarn left over when I'm done. I'm not sure if it'll be enough to do a whole other project, but it could be fun to use for something. It's cool how Cinder, the Hellhound VTuber, she does a lot of just playing games like a lot of VTubers do, but she also does arts and crafts a lot, and that was one of the things that made me want to start doing this. She's done things like do perler beads on stream, so that makes me feel like, oh, I could do that too. I really like how creative she is. She does things like look at her viewers' Halloween pumpkins, and she loves to listen to music. I like how much she changes her model's color scheme too, like all dark pink for Valentine's Day, red and green for Christmas, red and black for vampire or whatever. It's been a while. One thing I forgot about burns, I didn't get them for a long time, luckily, is they're very itchy. So that's another reason I'm glad I have these band-aids on. All right, let me check how far through we are. One, mm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, 4 more. Every once in a while, I'll be in like a bookstore or even just a department store with a book section, and I walk by the book section, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the Akodar series by Sarah J. Maas. And in my mind, I can just hear with Cindy's enraged commentary, just like slowly losing her mind as the series goes on. I love not the series of books, but the series of videos she made about them. I remember as she was describing A Court of Silver Flames, I was like, okay, the like The amount of actual events that happen in this book is not that much. So why is it so long? How did you get 800 pages out of this? And then she went into things to describe like the repetition or the unnecessary padding. And I was like, oh, that cannot have been fun to read. That's a lot of extra fluff. I hope to become a writer one day, and I hope people read it. But hopefully not ironically. Speaking of Cindy, that skit she does at the start of A Court of Frost and Starlight, where she wakes up and she's like, "Ah, I've moved to a new house. I'm free of Akotar." And her fans tell her novella, and she's like in denial, and she's pointing at the mirror like, "You sacrificed your brain cells for this. It's not true. None of it." And she starts like throwing her water cup. It's one of my favorite skits ever on YouTube. Getting close to the end of the repetitive part. We probably won't be putting the filling in today, just because that might take a while, but I'll see where we get to. I found shells that are like this exact color. They have stripes in this exact color. And it's a little bit crazy to me because you might think like, oh, there's no way nature could make that color if you don't see it a lot. But it does. have a lot of yellow yarn too. I might use that in my next project. This should be row 23, so we're almost done this part. I think butterflies are really cool, and so far I have a character based on the glasswing. But even if I don't use them all in like stories, it could be really fun to just draw more characters inspired by them because they're so cool. They remind me almost of like stained glass or a painting, but they're not. They're just there, like nature made them. I read a book once where a girl like goes to summer camp and she's trying to start up a YouTube channel and she has less than 100 subscribers and she's like, my goal is to hit 100 subs by the end of the summer. And by the time the summer actually ends, she has like more than 100K and there's magic in the book. So that's when I was like, now I know this is a fantasy story. I don't think that's likely. Like, there's probably times when it's happened. I just don't think it would be as easy as it appears in the book. I really like how Espeon's face, it kind of reminds me of a cat, like a real life cat with the big eyes and the really pointy ears. It looks like my cat, just standing there looking at me, or out the window when there's a lizard. I think when I get older, I'm gonna invest in like cute band-aids because I'm clumsy and bump into things a lot. I use my hands a lot, so I'm pretty much always wearing at least one. And that way I can make a fashion statement. All right, 24. Second, for amigurumi, it's important to stuff things firmly, but I'm also trying to make sure I don't stuff it too much. I have a bad habit of doing that, and then it gets all stretched out and looks weird. I wonder if I could cover Disney Paranoia Girl one day. There's a bunch of songs I want to sing, but I don't have like the equipment right this second. There's so many cool people I would love to work with one day. It would be really cool to have a bunch of different people help illustrate the stories I write. It would be so cool to see like who would make like a theme song. That's all stuff I really want to do one day. We might actually finish this part today. It's going quicker than I thought. After that, I think we'll just have like the other two legs and maybe one of the face tufts I'll check. And then we'll have all the pieces. I don't remember if I've mentioned it before, but I really like Aqua Nime's design with it where it's mainly purple and white and then red. I normally wouldn't put purple and red together just because they're not complementary colors. It wouldn't be first on my mind. But on her, it looks really good. The purple makes her look like mysterious or magical, and then the red is like dramatic, get your attention. Now, of course, when you actually meet Numi, she's a little bit different, but it's a very strong design, and I kind of like the contrast between her getting like she can be shy, she gets flustered quickly, versus her design looking so cool and mature. It's really funny. In real life too, she does like non-embarrassing things. Like she works out, like she has abs, she charms a random waitress. So I wonder if the energy like somehow got into the drawing. I don't know. I don't remember if I've said this before, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I have a conspiracy theory about why people keep watching live action adaptations of things, even though by and large they know it's probably not going to be good. You know, we've seen this happen over and over. I think it might just be gambling. I think it might just be plain old chance, because in the back of your mind, you're like, well, maybe this one will be the good one, even though I know it probably isn't. Like rolling a die, like maybe I'll get the role I need, even though I probably won't. Your brain really likes that. I gotta be done soon. My hand's getting tired. Nearly there. I remember when I first heard about Numi's Noombas, because the name sounds like Roomba. For a while, I thought they'd look like some kind of vacuum, but then I looked at them, and what I see is just like this little gray creature with a little face, and that's kind of how I see Numi in my mind. But I guess it works for her fans too. The first video I saw of Chibi's was her Valentine's Day applications video. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Asking people if she can cheat on them with Bowser, what size is her head, what nickname would they give her? They give her Protozoa and Subcanadius cyst, or however you pronounce it. It's a little more. She asks, how big is her head? And people say 77 inches. At first, she thinks that's normal, but then she converts inches to feet. Another thing about stuffing this is I don't want the stuffing to get too bunched up because then it won't be very soft. Okay, it should flatten out once I sew it. Ah, there we go. See? It'll close up. That might not quite be it. It's been a little while since I did one of these knots. Sometimes I want to call Cinder Cindy, like for short. But then I feel like if I said that and she heard it, she would think I was like calling her Cinderella, and that's not it. All right, we have our tube, and soon we'll have everything we need. And that and that should be it for today.